Hi everyone, welcome to class number 8. I've put out quite a few now and plan to continue doing so for as long as I can, of course. But for now, those who have watched multiple of these classes, I'm just wondering if you feel like they've really made a difference for you in your merchanting, if it really helped out. Please let me know in the comments, guys. Anyways, let's get to the class itself. In the previous classes I talked about time of the month. And no, I don't mean the thing girls get with this. I mean adjusting your merchanting to the behind-the-scenes posts and videos to decrease risk and create potential opportunities for yourself. Now, time of the week is important too, because the behind-the-scenes videos are part of this and these should really not be underestimated, as a lot of money can be made and lost here. Other than that, in relation to time of the week, you'll notice that people tend to buy items that they want to use on days like Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, because they use those over the weekend for things like PVM or PvP, or they want to train a lot of skills. And they tend to sell all that off on Sunday and Monday, which results in Monday and Tuesday being the days where investments are usually started, well, often started, as long as they're not related to updates, because the items dip lower here from everyone selling their stuff after the weekend. Now, of course, this counts in general, and it varies from item to item. The day of the week influences the prices of items, of course, but just because an item is more likely to rise on a certain day, it doesn't mean that it cannot drop lower first on the other days. So if you have some kind of master plan of like, oh, I'm gonna buy stuff on Monday and sell it on Friday, you're gonna get in trouble because it doesn't mean that it cannot drop in between. Now, merchanting is really not that simple. If it was, then everyone would do that and it wouldn't work anyways. So when it comes to selling off investments, try to avoid doing so on the silent days when less people are online, because there's going to be less demand for your items and less offers in a grand exchange, of course. As for active and inactive flipping, you'll notice that these go faster on busier days, but that is no reason not to do them on the calmer days. Then I get to merchanting in relation to the time of the day, which is what this class is, of course, all about. Now, this is very interesting and very important for any type of merchanting that you plan to do. Without anyone teaching you, you'll learn this stuff by experience. You'll notice that sometimes your margins are smaller, even though you're flipping faster, and sometimes the same item that you tried the day before is just incredibly slow, but you just price checked it for a larger margin than before. Now, the reason for this is, of course, very simple. RuneScape is played by players from all over the world. The largest groups being players from the USA and from Western Europe. Now, more people online means more supply and demand, so during the hours where the people from the USA are asleep and the European people are at work or at school, the economy in RuneScape is a lot calmer and more static. Because the merchants just leave in their offers for inactive flips or investments and not a whole lot is moving. This makes things slower, of course, and more ideal for the inactive type of merchanting, which you have undoubtedly discovered by now if you've been merchanting for a while. So, Snow, the creator of merch.com, realized that we had the opportunity to analyze our data that we've gathered on merch so far to put together an accurate representation of how big the average margins on items are in relation to how many players are online at any moment of the day. Now, I'm using the image here with his permission. It is something you really won't find anywhere else. It's really awesome. And I'm very thankful that Snow is sharing this with us. Now, on the bottom bar, you can see the hours in GMT. To convert those to your own time zone, you should just Google to convert it. I'm sure you can find that it's not that hard. On the left bar, you can see what basically represents a percentage. So the 1.2 means it's 20% above average, or in other words, 120% of the capacity. And 0.7 means 30% below average, or in other words, like 70% of the average capacity. So, as you can see, between 7 and 11 AM GMT, the amount of players online is at its lowest on average, and between 6 and 9 PM GMT, it is at its highest. Now, this is something that some websites or some small projects by people might still cover, as it just requires them to parse the current online players counter on the homepage all day, on the RuneScape homepage. The amount of players directly influences the speed of your merchanting, because like I said, the more people that are online, the faster offers will complete, as there is more likely to be more supply and demand. But what no one else will have are the average margins. Now, Snow is really a genius for putting this together. Just going to put this out there. To make this understandable and to explain it to you all, I'm going to break it down here. I'm using these little circles to represent the 4 major player groups and their impacts on the margins. Red is the West Coast USA, orange is the East Coast USA, blue is Western Europe, and green is Australia. You can see yellow as well, which stands for bots from gold farmers, which is actually a very large group, but they play 24/7, so they don't really apply to this situation. So I tried to put together this fancy map kind of thing that moves with the sun to kind of indicate where exactly it's day and where exactly it's night. Now, if you look at the first part of the graph, which I've got the little one at the bottom here, you can see that the margins are shooting up, which is a red line. You can see them shooting up after the Western Europeans went to bed around midnight GMT, and even more when those from the East Coast USA in the USA follow around 6 a.m. GMT. Then it is followed by a crash caused by people from all over the world, because first off you have the people from the West Coast USA who are putting in their last offers before going to bed, then the people from Western Europe who are waking up and possibly checking or adjusting their offers or putting in new ones, and then the Australian time zone based people who are getting home from work or school and who start merchanting. Now all of these groups together bring stock into the market, or they want to buy some, and this decreases the margins for a bit as they all come together in a short period of time. And even though they remain above average, the margins, which you can see by the red line, the majority of people doesn't really do this. Like, they don't merchant like right when they get up or right before going to bed. Not everyone does that, of course. Now, after this part, you see another peak, which is again explainable, because almost everyone from the USA is now asleep. The Western Europeans are at work or at school, and really only the Australians are online, which causes larger margins again. Now then after that you see it dropping again, as first the East Coast and then the West Coast USA wakes up and they do the same stuff. They adjust their offers and they check them and all that. And the Western Europeans have their break at noon and they might be doing the same, and a lot of Australians are online. Now after this point it's just repeating itself. The Europeans get home from work and school, and this narrows down the margins and increases the player count by a lot, while the USA people are having their noon break, and later on they're online as well to keep the margins down until everyone slowly goes to bed again. Now this is really valuable information for any merchant, and I hope you put this knowledge to good use, of course. Massive thanks to Snow for putting it together again. Now one more thing before I wrap this all up. I'm not going to sugarcoat this, and I don't mean to bash anyone, but Europeans have the most merchanting potential out of all RuneScape players. And the reason for this is very simple, because Jagex is based in the UK, and all updates and information releases from them are during times when people from Europe can always be online. Now it's often the case that people from the USA are at work or school, and the Australian ones already went to bed. That's how it is most of the time. Of course, if you're someone with an unusual biorhythm, this doesn't apply to you, but I'm talking in general anyways. The Europeans will always be online when investment opportunities arise, and they get the items for cheaper than the rest of you. That's just how it is. It's a cold hard truth, and there's little to do about it other than messing up your whole lifestyle for it. Now don't let this demotivate you to make bank though, because you should just be more cautious when buying in on investment opportunities. If you're not from Europe, always ensure that your item didn't already rise ridiculous amounts before buying in, because all you'll be doing is making those people money and watching them dump on you. That's it for this class. I hope you all enjoyed it and learned something new, and I'll see you all next time.